You know that moment when you set your alarm for 5 a.m. because this time you're actually going to do it. You're going to start that morning routine, hit the gym, work on that side project, and then the alarm goes off and you hit snooze. Not once, 3 times. And by 6:30, you're scrolling through your phone in bed, already negotiating with yourself about why tomorrow will be different. That's not a discipline problem, that's a default problem. And your defaults are absolutely destroying you. What I'm about to show you is probably going to make you uncomfortable, but that discomfort is exactly what you need right now. Here's the thing most people don't understand about themselves. You think you're making conscious decisions all day long. You're not. According to research from Duke University, about 45% of our daily behaviors aren't actually decisions at all. They're habits. They're defaults. But here's what gets really interesting, and this is from Shane Parrish's book, Clear Thinking. That number is probably way higher when it comes to the decisions that actually matter. Think about it. When was the last time you consciously decided to check your phone first thing in the morning? You didn't decide. You just did it. That's a default. When did you decide that scrolling through social media was a better use of your evening than reading that book you bought 3 months ago? You didn't. Your defaults decided for you. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but habits are good, right? We're supposed to build good habits. And yeah, you're not wrong. But here's where most people completely miss the point. Your defaults aren't necessarily the habits you built. Most of your defaults were installed by biology and absorbed from your environment without your permission. Let me explain what I mean. Your brain has exactly one job: keep you alive, not successful, not fulfilled, not accomplished. Alive. And for 99% of human history, staying alive meant conserving energy, staying with the tribe, and avoiding anything that could get you killed or exiled. So your brain developed these incredible shortcuts, these defaults, that are fantastic for survival in the African savanna 100,000 years ago, but absolutely terrible for success in the modern world. Here are the 4 big ones, and I guarantee you're running at least 3 of them right now. Default number 1, inertia. Your brain defaults to whatever requires the least energy. That's why the path of least resistance is so seductive. Starting is hard. Continuing what you're already doing is easy. Your brain literally evolved to choose easy. Default number 2, emotion. When your emotions spike, your prefrontal cortex, the part that does rational thinking, basically goes offline. You've experienced this. You've made decisions when you were angry, anxious, or excited that you knew were stupid. But you made them anyway. That's not weakness. That's your emotional default hijacking your decision-making. Default number 3, ego. Your brain is obsessed with protecting your self-image. So when faced with information that contradicts how you see yourself, your default isn't to update your beliefs. It's to reject the information. You double down on failing strategies because admitting you were wrong feels like death to your ego. Default number 4, social pressure. Humans are tribal animals. For most of history, being exiled from the tribe meant death. So your brain defaults to conformity. You make choices based on what will maintain your status, what will keep you accepted, what won't make you look stupid in front of others, even when those choices are obviously not in your long-term interest. And here's the truly insidious part. These defaults don't feel like defaults. They feel like you. They feel like conscious choices. That's why you can't fight them with willpower alone. This is where it gets really interesting and honestly, kind of frustrating. You know who suffers from defaults the most? Smart people. I know, that sounds backwards, but stay with me. When you're intelligent, you're really good at something that's absolutely destroying your potential: rationalization. See, when average people make decisions based on their defaults, they might feel a little guilty about it, but they move on. But smart people? Smart people can construct elaborate, sophisticated justifications for why their default-driven behavior was actually the optimal choice. You didn't hit snooze because of inertia. No. You needed the extra sleep for cognitive performance. You didn't scroll TikTok for an hour because of default behavior. You were decompressing, and rest is productive. You didn't avoid that difficult conversation because of social pressure. You were being strategic and waiting for the right moment. Here's what most people don't realize. Intelligence makes you better at lying to yourself. And if you're smart, You won't even notice it's happening because you'll be too busy explaining to yourself why your default-driven choice was actually brilliant. Let me give you a concrete example. A study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with higher IQs are actually more susceptible to certain cognitive biases, specifically the ones that involve motivated reasoning. In other words, smart people are better at convincing themselves that what they want to believe is actually true. That's why you see brilliant people stuck in terrible relationships, terrible jobs, terrible habits. It's not that they don't know better. It's that their intelligence is being used by their defaults, not against them. Look, I'm not saying intelligence is bad. I'm saying intelligence without awareness is dangerous, because you'll optimize yourself right into mediocrity and call it strategy. Here's what this looks like in real life. You spend 3 hours researching the optimal morning routine, instead of just waking up early tomorrow. That's motion, not action. You reorganize your productivity system for the 5th time instead of doing the actual work. Motion, not action. You watch 47 YouTube videos about starting a business instead of making your first sale. Motion, not action. But none of that creates results. Now, you might be thinking, but I am taking action. I'm working hard. I'm putting in effort. Okay, but are you producing results? Or are you just producing activity? Let me put it this way. If you track hours worked, but not problem solved, you've already lost. You're optimizing the wrong scoreboard. And your defaults love that because busyness is easy to sustain. Results require you to be vulnerable to failure. Your defaults will always optimize for whatever scoreboard you're using. And most people are using the wrong scoreboard. They're measuring how many books they started, instead of how many ideas they applied, how many hours they worked, instead of how much value they created, how consistent they were, instead of how much they improved, how busy they appeared, instead of how effective they actually were. But you can't always create value. You can't always solve harder problems. You can't always get measurably better. All right, here's where we get practical. Because awareness is great, but if you don't do something different, nothing changes. See, elite performers, they don't have superhuman discipline. They just don't rely on discipline at all. They install systems that make good decisions automatic and bad decisions difficult. Let me give you an example you can implement literally today. Never make significant decisions in the moment. Never. If you're emotional, tired, or being pressured, default answer is, I need 24 hours to think about it. This is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Why? Because 90% of your worst decisions happen when your defaults hijack you in real time. The 24-hour rule creates a buffer between stimulus and response. You'd be shocked how many decisions look completely different after one day. Most people collapse decision-making and execution into the same moment. That's a disaster. Because when it's time to execute, you're tired, distracted, or emotional, and your defaults take over. Instead, decide when you're calm and strategic. Execute mechanically, no thinking aloud. Concrete example. I decide on Sunday what my workout schedule is for the week. Specific times, specific exercises. When Wednesday at 6 a.m. comes around, I don't decide whether to work out. That decision was already made. I just execute. Same with work. I decide at the beginning of each week what my 3 most important outcomes are. Then during the week, I don't decide what to work on. I just execute what I already decided. This removes the opportunity for defaults to interfere at the critical moment. Look, you cannot discipline your way out of a bad environment. You just can't. Your defaults are heavily influenced by your surroundings. If your environment defaults to distraction, you'll be distracted. If your environment defaults to comfort, you'll be comfortable. So stop trying to resist your environment and redesign it instead. Want to read more? Put books in every room and hide your phone. Want to eat better? Don't buy junk food. It's not in the house, you can't eat it. Simple. Want to be more productive? Delete social media from your phone. Make distraction require effort. You're not building willpower. You're building systems that make willpower unnecessary. Now, let me tell you something you probably don't want to hear, but you need to hear it. If you're still operating on your defaults, you're choosing to stay weak. Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid, but because you're comfortable. Your defaults keep you in your comfort zone. They keep you safe. They keep you average. And average is comfortable. Average means you don't stand out. Average means you don't risk failure. Average means you can blend into the background and your ego stays protected. But average also means you never become who you're capable of becoming. Look, I'm not here to blow smoke and tell you you're already amazing just as you are. You might be. But if you were, you probably wouldn't be watching a video about why your defaults are keeping you weak. The truth is, most people will never override their defaults. They'll spend their entire lives on autopilot, wondering why they never achieved what they were capable of. They'll blame discipline. They'll blame motivation. They'll blame circumstances. But it was never any of those things. It was defaults they never questioned, patterns they never noticed, and systems they never built. And here's what really gets me. You know this already, don't you? You know you're capable of more. You know you're settling. You know you're running on autopilot. The question is, are you going to do something about it? Or are you going to rationalize why now isn't the right time and go back to your defaults? Here's your action plan. Don't just watch this and move on. Actually do this. Step 1. For the next 3 days, just notice your defaults. When do you default to inertia? When does emotion take over? When does ego make you double down on bad decisions? When does social pressure make you choose comfort? Don't try to change anything yet, just notice. Step 2. Pick one area where your defaults are costing you the most. Just one. Is it your morning routine, your work habits, your relationships, your health? Step 3. Install one safeguard. Just one. Maybe it's the 24-hour rule. Maybe it's separating deciding from doing. Maybe it's redesigning your environment. One safeguard, one area, 3 days of observation. That's it. That's how you start. Your defaults aren't going away. They're part of being human. But you can either let them run your life, or you can build safeguards that redirect them toward who you actually want to become. The choice, and it is a choice whether you realize it or not, is yours. If this video hit you the way I think it did, subscribe for more content like this. And remember, awareness without action is just entertainment. Don't let this be entertainment. Do something different tomorrow. I'll see you in the next one.